Timor-Leste.
Timor is an island that is divided in East and West. West Timor is a part of Indonesia and East is a Timor-Leste. It's a bit like a cousin of Indonesia, but they tried to be different. The full name is Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, but let's just call it Timor-Leste or just Timor-Beste. Capital here is Dili, and they indeed a Dili.
An especially good example of a particular type of thin or person.
And that is why they should be called Timor-Beste. The name of the country literally means East, East. Timor is East in Malay and Leste is East in Portuguese. I can understand why it has a Malaysian word, but why the hell Leste is in Portuguese? It is 16th century on a calendar. Portuguese showed up after months of traveling by boat. They see Timor and they think, hey, we should totally own this land. No one is using it. Portugal claims it, building forts and few villages on the eastern half of the island. Meanwhile, there are other guests nearby. Dutch. They are hanging out on the western half, today's Indonesia, and somehow the two colonial powers agreed to divide the island like it's some giant pizza. You got the left slice and I'll take the right. Deal? 17th century on a calendar. Dutch and Portuguese were very eager to claim over this strategic and full of resources island. Portugal was like, hey, this is our thing now. But then the local Timorese are like, nah, we've got our own ideas. Obrigado. But of course, the ideas kept changing with each century. For example, the Tetum language slowly went from Austronesian to more Portuguese. And Timorese people turned to Catholic instead of praying to spirits and natural forces. Interesting fact, today 96% of the population of
Timor-Beste
are Catholics, making them one of the most Catholic countries in Asia. Portugal never really got to fully control the island, so they were like the distant landlord who showed up once in a century to collect rent and leave. 20th century on a calendar, time for Indonesian invasion. But first, Japanese. Japan invaded East Timor in 1942 during the World War II. Now they double occupied. Portugal didn't mind it at all, but Australia did. They sent troops to free East Timor from occupied occupation and won. Japan were defeated in 1945 and from that day, East Timor occupied only once. But back to Indonesian invasion. Year 1974. Portugal had a coronation revolution and they finally got rid of their dictator. That led to the colonization of their territories and granting independences to them. And everyone is happy, except East Timor. Things got a bit tough here. After the Portuguese left, Fratelli, the local rebel group, gets super excited and goes, "We are declaring independence!" And they even created their flag. Indonesia isn't happy for them at all, because they don't want to have a communist neighbor, and East Timorese are also Indonesians, but just speak Portuguese. Timorese were like, Portugal, ajude-nos, daremos a vocês café e azeite. But Portugal had a big revolution, and they just had lost interest in this colony anymore. December 1975, Indonesia invaded
Timor-Beste.
They claim it's for stability, but honestly they just want all the natural resources. UN was like, okay, we should probably do something about this. And they had been doing something for 24 years. Finally, in 1999, Timor-Leste had a choice to vote, stay with Indonesia or be independent. In 2002, they declared full independence, and now it's one of the youngest countries in the world. Dili, the capital city, is not a metropolis like Jakarta or Bangkok, but it could have been like Jakarta if they... Never mind. Let's see what's interesting in Dili. Church, cultural center, another church, statue of Pope, Museum of East Timorese Resistance, another statue, Indonesian military cemetery, local market, and of course, Cristo Rei of Dili, one of the most iconic landmarks in Delhi, which were built with the help of Indonesian military. Just climb about 500 steps up a hill and you're like in a small Rio de Janeiro. Oh yeah, you can also visit Timor Plaza, Stadium and $1 Beach. Yeah, it's an official name of it. Indonesia's annexation of
Timor-Beste
caused border disputes for years. The border between Indonesia and Timor-Leste is still a bit of a headache to this day, with people still trying to figure out who owns what. So a part of mainland, there is also a Tauro Island and Occusi-Ambeno, which is inside Indonesia. Occusi and Ambeno are actually the names of the two kingdoms in Timor Island, and Ambeno existed even before the colonial period. On top of all that, despite the
Timor-Beste
is a relatively small and new country, they got their own sea. Yeah, the Timor Sea is a thing. I found an interesting page where it says about Sultanate of Occusi-Ambeno, and at first I was completely confused, but then I started a little investigation. So let me explain. Once upon a time, there was a dude in New Zealand named Bruce Henderson. This guy right here is a joke man. He decided that normal countries are boring, so he went ahead and created his own country in 1968, called it the Sultanate of Occusi-Ambeno, or Occusi for short. And it's located in that small exclave of
Timor-Beste.
This brother even made stamps. Lots of stamps. His stamps were beautifully designed, featuring things like the Sultan's face, fantastical animals, and other symbols of his imagination. These type of stamps are called artist stamps. Bruce sold them to collectors and people who were obsessed with things that don't exist but look really official. He gave his sultanate imaginary currency, official titles like His Majesty or Sultan, and even official declarations of independence. Okay, here is the thing. Bruce wasn't just doing this for the memes. He was also making a point. His creation of the Sultanate was a bit of political commentary on the whole concept of sovereignty and statehood. He was asking, what does it really mean to be a country? Do borders matter if you don't have the right to declare them? As a president of UFLand, I totally agree with this point. And by the way, this is a real website of his fake Sultanate. They got inquiry for services, so you can register and call them to ask for citizenship or something. You can even send an email to the Sultan itself. And also, what is this? Swift Air. Yeah, at this point we should stop talking about all of this. Bruce Henderson's Sultanate of Occusi-Ambeno is like a meme in the world of micronationalists and stamp collectors. A little bit of art, a bit of political chaos, and a lot of creativity led to something totally not real, but still oddly inspiring. But there are more of fake micronations in that region, even more complex and a bit of more recent compared to the Sultanate of Occusi-Ambeno. For example, the Kingdom of Kaupilan, and their website has a lot of stuff about this fake country, but it's not our today's topic, so enough of that. What do you think hold a sacred and symbolic place in the culture and traditions of
Timor-Beste.
That's right, a crocodile. Crocodiles are seen as spiritual beings and ancestors in Timor-Leste. Here is this cute legendary backstory. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, lived a small crocodile. Like many small crocodiles, he had a dream to grow big and strong and become one of the biggest crocodiles ever to live. But as seasons changed and time passes, the land became dry and food became scarce. The crocodile couldn't grow big and strong, and instead grew weak and sad. He left his home in search for food and traveled far into the ocean. He didn't find anything there and returned to land, where he laid down ready for death to come. But instead of death came a small boy. The boy liked the crocodile. He fed and healed him. When the crocodile was back to full health, he turned to little boy, feeling grateful for what he had done, and said, "Boy, thank you. You have saved my life and I will not forget this. Call me whenever you need and I'll come and do whatever you ask." And the crocodile left. Years later, the boy went back to the same spot and called the crocodile. When the crocodile arrived, he asked, "What do you want, little boy?" And the boy told him his dream. "I want to see the world. This is my dream." The crocodile replied, "Climb on my back and point wherever you want to go." They started traveling and for many years didn't stop until one day, while they were traveling east, following the sun, when the crocodile stopped. "It is time for me to die, brother, but as a gift for your kindness, I will make you a home. I will become an island for you and your children, where you can live and watch the sunrise above the sea." And with this, the crocodile died. Within minutes, he began to grow. He grew and grew until the ridges on his back stretched high up in the mountains, forming the island of Timor-Leste. Lulik, aka sacred houses, are also a part of culture in
Timor-Beste.
It's basically houses that usually standing on stilts. They are considered the heart of the community and a place where important ceremonies and rituals take place. What a wonderful structure. Okay, let's talk about languages. There are over 30 local languages and dialects, and there are only 2 official languages. Tetum and Portuguese. Let's see how similar they are. Thank you in Tetum would be obrigado. In Portuguese, obrigado or obrigada for females. Good morning in Tetum would be bom dia. In Portuguese, bom dia. Book in Tetum would be livro, and livro in Portuguese. House in Tetum is UI or Y, and in Portuguese is casa. And okay, I think we can stop with the languages. Okay, let's see what's in the kitchen. Batardan is basically a rice with pumpkins and beans. Ikan sabuko. Ikan is basically a fish from Malay and Indonesian. Listen, if you're on island like Timor-Leste and you're not eating fish, then what are you even doing there? Feijoada. It is made with pork, beans and chorizo. Actually, this is a national Portuguese dish, and all Portuguese colonies has their own recipe of feijoada. This is my favorite, tukir. Marinated lamb meat cooked in whole sections of large bamboo coals. If you eat tukir, then you need something to wash it down. So grab yourself some tuan mutin. It's just basically their version of white wine, or they also call it liqueur. Tapai is like a fermented rice made Timorese vodka, but it's slightly alcoholic. Katupa is just a rice and coconut leaves. Basically, it's just like an exotic Kinder Surprise. Last but not least is manas. This is a sauce, and I see there are some red ingredients, so surely it has to be. Tais is a form of traditional weaving created by the women of East Timor. It's the OG fabric, a storytelling masterpiece recognized by UNESCO Cultural Heritage. Each Tais design is like a map of their past, made with tradition, skill, and pride. The colors and patterns can symbolize local tribes, family heritage, or even important cultural events. It's like wearing a history book, but with more style and no wars. There's even a Tais market in Dili where you can watch the fascinating process of weaving and buy a handmade Tais with your US dollars. In fact, you can buy anything in dollars because it's their national currency. But they don't use American cents. They have their own centavos. So to wrap it all up, not in Tais though, Tais is the Timorese fabric of awesomeness. If you ever visit Timor-Leste and don't get yourself a Tais, then just get a life, man. East Timor is one of the least visited countries in the world. It is one of the poorest countries in Asia and poorest country in Southeast Asia, despite that it's a big producer of coffee, oil and gas. However, the country still has a lot to offer. The people are incredibly hospitable, especially considering the challenges they've faced in their history. You won't see tons of tourists, so you can easily take a selfie without a crowd on the background, or just go wherever you like without waiting in a queue. While Timor-Leste faces a range of problems and isn't exactly an S-tier destination, it certainly deserves to be called
Timor-Beste.
at least for the memes. Por favor.